But while I was living there, that was when I actually found out that one of my best friends from growing up had died in a car accident. And what ended up making it worse was it turned out the person who caused the accident was actually my mother's cousin, which would also be my cousin. And so it was just so much to get through, and I struggled with it so hard that I just felt the need to run. Like I couldn't get away from the feeling of disbelief, despair, disinterest. I didn't care. I didn't want to care. I just wanted to go. I wanted to run. So I convinced my dad to pack up from where we were living in California, and I moved to Midland, Texas, which pretty far from where y'all are here, from where I go to school, about an hour and a half, so I'm basically home. So after all that stuff happened, it was over about a 3-year period that my life completely changed. And going through all that kind of left me in a dark place. I didn't believe in anyone or anything. I didn't want people around me. I had gotten so used to being independent and being on my own that I couldn't deal with people not letting me do that. And to an extent, it felt like a fate worse than death. After some time, I started to care again and to feel again. And part of that came from the family that I was living with. My dad and the people we were staying with cared a lot about God. They were all Catholics. They all believed it. They all lived the faith. And being around them actually helped me redevelop my own faith, because I was around people who cared about God, and that made me care. That made me want to have a relationship with Him, because I knew people who did, and I wanted to be like them. And so up until that point, it really did feel like my old life had died and my new life was beginning. And kind of going with what Kevin was talking about last night, to an extent, there really is a sense of death that comes with having to start over. Wherever you're beginning, whatever life you're trying to lead, you have to let the old life, the parts you don't want, die so you can move on. We must let go of the things that cause us to feel disbelief, despair, and disinterest, because they separate us from God and from faith, hope, and love. It's that feeling that reminds me of actually one of my favorite verses. And it is, I have been crucified with Christ, and I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. The life I now live in the body, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave Himself for me. Galatians 2:20. And it's also important to remember that no matter how far we stray, God still loves us. Romans 5:8 states that but God demonstrates His own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Which I've seen rephrased into essentially a simpler version of, He loved you at your darkness. Romans 5:8 and Galatians 2:20 really exhibit what faith, hope, and love are all about. They show our relationship with God in relation to the theological virtues, but also show how we can live our lives according to faith, hope, and love. We are sinners. And while we do all we can to avoid sin, we know that through faith in God, He loves us. And that love gives us hope for a place in heaven. Those two verses also highlight how great God's love is for us and how important faith, hope, and love are for us. The concept of faith, hope, and love even exists in Christ's crucifixion. 3 of Christ's 7 last words show us faith, hope, and love. Even in death, He taught us lessons in how to live our life. When God said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?" He reminded us what it means to have faith. So on the surface, I know that might seem like a declaration of disbelief, but it's actually the start of Psalm 22, which is one of lament and then turns into one of praise and faith in God. As He was dying to everything, Christ still said words of faith in the Father. I mentioned that to truly have faith, there is a certain kind of death with it. And as Christ died on the cross, so did part of us. In His death, His faith was still strong. So too must our faith be in whatever challenges we face. When Christ said, "Father, into Thy hands I commend my spirit," He reminded us what hope really means for the faithful. Having surrendered in faith, he hopes, he trusts, he believes in God. And he believes that He will catch it. All of His pain and suffering ends with a message of hope. At the end of Christ's life, or at the end of Jesus' life, His faith in God led Him to have hope. So too can we have hope in the resurrection after our death. His life ends with a message of hope, but His 7 words begin with a message of love. When Christ said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do," He showed us perfect love. Despite all that Christ went through, as He died on the cross, He asked forgiveness for the people who put Him there, because they did not know the truth. Moreover, His sacrifice on the cross is a symbol of perfect love. Thomas Aquinas spoke of 3 stages of love. And Christ's crucifixion is an example of the third stage, perfect love. Perfect love is dying for the sake of those who do not deserve it. Through our sins, we too are parties in the passion and crucifixion. But we have an equal opportunity to be forgiven because of God's love. He showed us infinite love, so too can we try to show the most perfect love possible on earth, which is to strive to imitate the perfection of the love in heaven and to seek to act every moment out of love. So faith, hope, love abide, these three. But the greatest of these is love. Jesus had faith in God, died so that we could have the resurrection, and did all this from a place of love for us. Christ was true God and true man. So while we cannot be Christ, we can be Christ-like. We can have faith in God. We can hope that one day we will be with God. And we can love as Christ loved us. Thanks to God, we have the ability to have faith, to have hope, and to have love. Whether we are on a religious high or feel at our lowest point, faith is here. Hope is here. Love is here. God is here. Thank you.